Hi, Ida.
Hi, Nicole.
And hello, listeners. Welcome back to Bitch Be Grateful. We're so excited and we're so grateful that you're here because we are going to continue with our February month of love topic relationships.
Yay!
Yay!
This is probably me and Nicole's favorite topic. We both love love. We're hopeless romantics. We love
Yes.
relationships and to talk about them.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We're rom-com junkies. And while we know that that is not reality all the time, I feel like me and Nita, one of our goals in life is just to have an awesome relationship in every area, and especially our romantic relationships. And we're just going to be honest and say, we didn't start with great relationships. Like, we didn't start knowing how to have a great relationship. So it's been trial and error, which is why we talk about it so much because it's a learning process to have a really
It
great
is.
romantic relationship.
And I think it's honestly like a whole life project. Like it's a process for
We
your
love to
whole
hear
life
that.
to learn. Things will come up at whatever age, and it's just a constant learning and learning and learning, and but that's also what makes it so exciting, 'cause it will never be
Yeah.
dull because you're always learning, you're always expanding, and
He'll never be dull and he'll never be done. No. We love
exactly.
to hear that. No, but it's
Yeah.
true because I feel like our romantic relationships, especially, at least in my life, have been growing ground, have been like the greatest opportunities for growth. Once you see them, when you see it from a little bit, more evolved place, you can be like, oh, I actually have a lot of responsibility in this relationship that I haven't taken.
Yeah,
This is not about you. This is about me.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this was my problem, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very interesting because, for example, in my personal experience, I always just saw myself as like a quite stable, quite confident person. And then I entered a romantic relationship, and oh man, like things came from left and right. I was suddenly feeling insecure, feeling anxious, feeling jealous, like I wasn't good enough. And I was just there, like, who am I? This had nothing to do with the other person. It was not in any way a bad relationship for me or anything. It was genuinely just that it was the first person who really challenged my own view on myself and my self love and my relationship with myself. And it really brought out that, oh wow, like I hadn't been practicing self love. I hadn't been taking care of myself. And it was the first time it came into light.
Oh man, yeah, I feel that. I really felt that, because it's so true. I had one view of myself outside of a relationship, and then when I got into a relationship, well, one, I had a pattern of kind of blaming the other person, so I didn't wanna go inward, and I didn't know I had that pattern until I was sitting here listing off, well, he's not nice, and I don't like that he does this, and I don't like that he does that. And I was sitting there thinking, "Okay, no, these are all things that I feel internally, and this person is just reflecting that back to me. Like, this has nothing to do with them, like you said." And we don't really notice that until we get into a relationship, that our romantic relationships are one of the biggest mirrors in our life for ourselves and how we see ourselves, what our standards are, how we want to build life. I mean, there's just so much that comes up. Like, just like Pandora's box. And
It is, but it is because it's what me and Nicole were talking about in the self love episode. Essentially, like everything around you will, in a way, reflect your relationship with yourself, but romantic relationships, especially. And it
uh-huh.
just really brings out everything. And yeah, like Nicole is saying, it's really Pandora's box, and you don't know what's gonna come out of there. And it is just really, really interesting and scary because you don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna come up.
Yeah. It is scary, and I'm glad that you said that because I think for me, particularly, one thing that I had to heal was very much like not being in victim mode, not putting I don't know. This could be a Pisces thing. So if there's any little Pisces princesses out there, maybe you felt this in the past. But we we kind of just want to have like this epic love story and we want everything to be perfect and we put so much pressure on this other person and they have to complete us. And I didn't even know that I was doing all of these things in a relationship until I had some fall apart. I had some really big reflections in there and moments where I was like, I'm so miserable, but I feel like I caused my own misery in this relationship by putting all of these things on other people. And I think putting all these expectations on them without first meeting them myself too. Because I had like, I wanted them to complete me. I wanted them to do like all these awesome things for me. And I just kind of saw the other person as like this big white knight that's just going to rescue me from everything. And over time, through shadow work and pattern work and all this really fun stuff, I started to realize I was like, girl, you don't need to be chosen. You don't need a white knight. You don't need that partner to be this like huge thing. You just need to complete yourself. You need to be happy within yourself and the other person adds to it. And that was a big thing that I had to learn in my relationships. And it kept me from sitting there and being like, they have to do everything. And until they do it, I'm not going to do it.
I think it's a very important point that your partner is not there to like complete your life or to enhance everything. Like, obviously, they should make your life better. I think we all want a relationship that we don't want to be equal if they're there or not. Like, we want
Mhm.
them to bring something to the table and make your life better, but it shouldn't be depending on them that your life is great. Like, your life should be great, and
Mhm.
then they are a bonus and they make it even better, which is amazing. And I remember too that I at some point have been saying, "Oh, I would love to have a partner who goes to the gym regularly because then they can take me to the gym." It's great if your partner inspires you and they're doing all these things that you also want to do and they motivate you, but it's not their responsibility to have you step into your dream self because you're going to follow their habits. That's your responsibility. And that's kind of what we keep on coming back to, is that everything really that you can control in a relationship is how you show up and who you show up as. And it's really, really important that you make sure that you show up as the person you want to be. And we don't enter this pettiness, for example, where, oh, they don't appreciate me, I'm not going to appreciate them. Like, if you want to be in an appreciative relationship, then be appreciative of your partner, no
So
matter
true.
if they are or not. Like,
Yeah, irregardless of their behavior, you have to think
yeah.
of, am I proud of my behavior? And that's really what I had to learn in the past was, okay, maybe they're acting like this and this is how I'm interpreting it, which also you have to think if you have a limiting belief that of like, I'm not enough, you might interpret everything they do as them telling you you're not enough. So also you have to understand how you're interpreting their behavior. When you look
Yes, that's a
inward,
big one.
yeah, that's a big one. Because it's your perspective matters, 1, so your self-belief really matters, but 2, like Ida said, I would think about that too. I'm like, "Man, I want this guy to be like this and like that," but I wasn't really doing those things. For myself, I wasn't really holding that standard, and on top of that, I wasn't even thinking about my standards. I was like, "I want this fairy tale dream," but I wasn't thinking about, "Okay, what does that personally need for my standards?" Or like, "How do I have to treat myself?" Okay, like, how do I my whole life have to reflect those things? So when that person comes, awesome. Like you said, they'll inspire you, they'll motivate you, but they're not the reason for your being. And I think too, and me and Anita talk about this all the time. It's like we don't really believe in toxic people either. Like we don't really believe in anyone being perfect or being like awful. Like we think they're in shadow or light. So if I want to attract somebody who's in this frequency of light, like they're in their full evolution, like they're, you know, they've worked through their shadow patterns and all of these things, well, then I have to work through my shadow patterns and I have to be able to be in a frequency of like light and I have to be at a higher vibration in order to attract that person. A lot of times we're operating in our shadow behaviors, our shadow relationship behaviors, and then expecting this person who's like on a different frequency to like come and take us out of it or to come help us. And that doesn't work. Like it really doesn't. And I think too, like when you're doing that, you also have to, and you have grace and you see shadow and light, you stop thinking like "Oh, if one little thing goes wrong in my relationship, then that person's like bad or that person's this." It's like, no, maybe they're just operating in their shadow and it's something you have to talk about too.
Yeah, that's so true. And one, I don't want to say one bad action because it doesn't have to be bad, but one action that, let's say, triggers you or makes you feel bad doesn't mean that that's who they are, or that that makes them a bad person, or that they are a person who triggers you. Like, I think it's important to make a distance between the actions and the actual person. And
Mhm.
I have, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I genuinely believe that even people who do have toxic behavior, and maybe they even do have a toxic pattern, I genuinely believe that they are really doing their best with what they have. And some people have bad intentions. I'm not trying to say that no one has bad intentions, but I do believe that many people who act in a toxic way, they are genuinely doing it with good intentions, and they are doing the best that they can, and that's just the way it comes out. And it's easy to interpret it as they're out to hurt you, they're out to do something wrong, but that's not always the case, and it's not in any way to excuse toxic behavior. But I neither believe that there's toxic people. It's just a matter of them looking inwards and seeing their patterns and healing their wounds. And if they don't do that, it's very easy to act from your shadow side and hurt other people.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think, like you were saying, they really do think they're doing the best that they can. And maybe, and that's the thing too, even if you find somebody who's on a higher vibration, if you're on a higher vibration, you're moving towards a higher frequency, well, there's always a higher frequency to move to. So that's where the relationship patterns come in, where, like me and Anita said, it's never dull and it's never done because it doesn't matter how evolved you are. There's always another evolution to take place, and there's going to be friction, and there is going to be a shadow that comes out here and there because it really I'll be honest, it's impossible to heal yourself completely in 1 second.
Yeah.
Completely. And you can even be in the best mood, in love with the world, everything's perfect, birds are chirping in your ear, and something can still show up because there's another area where it's like, okay, the universe goes, "I'm so proud of you. You're here. Let's take you here to the
Yeah.
next one." And you're gonna stub your toe on a rock or something, and like, something's gonna happen. You have to work through that, whatever it is, and that's not a bad thing. It's not. So you have to set up this idea of grace in your relationship, and we talked about this. You have to have grace with yourself, and if you have grace with yourself, you can have grace with that other person because there's always going to be another level that you can both work towards. And that's why I don't know about you, Ida, but when coming to like maybe you're in a relationship right now, or maybe you're not, but if you can, and if you're not, I would say finding someone with a perspective of wanting to look inward who does this type of work is really great because then no matter where we are now, we're both wanting to get to a better place. And that's a beautiful thing. You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, that is very beautiful. And I think, in my opinion, that is like such a beautiful thing with romantic relationships in general, is that it's just like two people who, like, no people like really knows what they're doing in a relationship. Like, we are all really just trying to figure it out. And every relationship is so different that you really just need to figure it out with that person. And I think that is
Mhm.
really beautiful, that it's just two people being together, trying to figure out how they can co-live together and make an amazing life together.
Yeah.
And that also, yeah, is what makes it complicated, because what I sometimes struggle with is that, you can always get advice from people around you, and it's always great to share with close friends and people you feel comfortable with. But sometimes it's like no one is gonna understand exactly what you're going through, exactly what your relationship is going through. And sometimes you really just need to, like, figure everything out on your own and with your partner. And that can sometimes
Mhm.
feel frustrating because maybe you just want a solution. Like, this worked for me, do that. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not really how it works.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
A recipe book, like 1, 2, 3, yeah, 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 we figure this out.
Yep, and you'll have a perfect relationship, and it's just
Yeah.
no. Me and I have talked about this quite a bit. What is perfect to you? What is and like, what is a perfect relationship to you? What is a good relationship to you? And that's another thing you have to define because I never defined that going into a relationship. I would always just he's cute, he's funny, like, he's in proximity to me, like, um, I was like, "Yeah, let's just try it out." Because and I never thought about, "Okay, what is my relationship standard? What do I actually want it to look like? What is my idea for my life?" I never put that much thought going into it. So, of course, in the relationship, there were some rough patches because none of us had thought about those things, and now we're trying to figure them out together. And you have to ask yourself, what is good to me? What is a good relationship? Is it that we're both growing together? Is it that, we both have shared beliefs or a shared religion or a shared this or that? Like what actually matters to you?
Yeah.
Because then you can decide, this is worth standing for, this is worth compromising on. And that way you're not compromising on something you don't want to compromise and build resentment. And you're also not dying on a hill that's ruining your relationship that doesn't really matter at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it is really important to know what are your non-negotiables and what can you actually compensate on, like you were saying. And also that because at the end of the day, like a relationship is compromised. I cannot expect to just continue with everything you've done before 100% like you did it. You will have to compromise. But then it
Mhm.
is really important that, like Nicole was saying, you don't compromise on the things that are actually non-negotiables for you.
Yeah, but it's true. And I think maybe that's part of the conflict in the relationships, just different definitions of good and different definitions of what makes us happy. But when you can come to a place and you both agree on them and you can both see what actually matters and the foundation you want to build, everything else is just extra and everything else just gets to be fun and it gets to be exciting. But like me and Nina have said, it's very important that we know those things for ourselves and then for our relationship as well. It's three in one. It's like, there's you, there's them, there's the relationship, and how do we make this all whole? It's a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's
That
why
is
it's a
true.
lifetime process.
Yeah, and I think it's then also really important that you know in a relationship what is actually part of your responsibilities and what are things that you can quote unquote control in the end of the day. Like, we can't really control anything, but yeah. And what are your responsibilities? And it's that's the thing, like we were talking about, a relationship is a compromise from both parts, and maybe one of the parts doesn't want to compromise, or they're not able to meet you where you want to be met. And then at some point we need to either accept that or look for something else, and that is part of your
Mhm.
responsibility. And I think it's easy to think, oh, maybe if I just tell them in a different way, maybe if I give them a different example, or maybe I say it in this voice instead of that voice like I did last time, maybe they will then understand and give me what I need. But it's
Yeah, if I
not a
write them a
matter of
dissertation on it, then they'll understand
exactly,
it.
then they will get it. But it's not a question of if they understand or not. Like, they probably understood it the first time. Maybe they're not able to give you what you want or what you need.
Mhm.
And then it becomes your responsibility to think, okay, is this then one of my non-negotiables? Can I accept that I won't have this wish fulfilled or this need fulfilled? Or is it then actually my responsibility to either give that to myself, if you can do that, great, or maybe that's not the space for you?
I agree. And this is where, too, like you were talking about earlier, when you're evolving and you're looking at your own shadow patterns and all of this, and maybe you're already in a relationship and that's where you're starting your healing process, it can feel frustrating because you feel like you're the only one doing it and the other person isn't. Well, it doesn't matter because what's going to happen one way or another is that you're going to evolve to a point where you're no longer operating in shadow, or you realize, okay, I've been compromising on this. I don't want to anymore. And you start moving from a different place. either they're going to respond and be like, "Oh, oh, she's leveling up. I'm going to also level up with them." Or you get to the place where you're at such a different area, they're in such a different area, you both just see this is not working. There's no way this can work. And it ends. And in my opinion, they're both happy endings. I don't think that one might feel a little more painful than the other, but in reality, even growing with someone is painful. So it depends how you look at pain. And both of them are happy endings and you get what you want, which is your own happiness. I don't believe that it's an excuse to stay in a bad place. Remove yourself if there's harm and then work on yourself. You don't have to be in the relationship to work on yourself if it's that type of case. But if you are in a relationship and you are working some things out and it's not necessarily bad, it's just not what you want, have faith that either it's going to be amazing or it's going to part and something more amazing is going to come. Because I mean, when you love yourself so much, you can't help but attract an amazing relationship.
I think for me, one of the best advice I have received is if you are in a relationship that maybe at this point don't feel fulfilling, but you feel like it's not the time to leave at that point, then focus on yourself. And it doesn't mean forget about your partner or forget about the relationship. It just means what can you do in your life to make yourself feel better? Is there a project you've been thinking about starting? Like, start that project. Really, you just focus on your path. And if your partner will follow you on that path and the relationship will follow you on that path, perfect. And if not, like Nicole was saying, then that might not be for you, and that is painful. We all know that breakups are hard and it's not
Yeah.
something we want to go through, but sometimes they are necessary. So I feel like if you are in an unfulfilling relationship, it is also an invitation to level up yourself and like level up your
Mhm.
life. And if then that also brings the relationship to the next level, perfect. And if not, you've leveled up and you're ready to attract someone who's at that new level.
Yes, and it's so funny in church, they would tell us, like, especially in youth ministry, right, when you start dating, they're like, "Follow God with all your heart, with your blinders," right? And then, follow him and then look up and see who's still following you, and those are the people you wanna be with, right? And that's really how I feel when you, like, get focusing on your life and you're like, follow your heart and your projects with so much passion and blinders on, and then look up and see who's still there. And those are the people that you want. And there are stepping stone relationships. I think we get used to this idea that this super love story of like, oh, they've been in love since they were kids or high school sweetheart, especially in America. I don't know about Europe if it's the same thing, but in America, there's this notion of like high school sweethearts and long lost loves and people that you've loved your whole life that you stay with together. And that just hasn't been my case. I don't know. I feel as if there are stepping stone relationships for some people. There are long life, like romantic, we've been in love our whole life relationships. It's different. But if you are someone who has stepping stone relationships that are helping you work towards the one that you truly desire, like Ida said, work on yourself and you're going to know the moment you're supposed to leave. You're going to know the moment that, okay, confirmation from the universe, it's time to move on, or like they'll up level with you. And don't feel guilty if you do have stepping stone relationships. Like, not every relationship has to last forever. And if you work on yourself, the most amazing part is that through that relationship, you'll have already worked on these patterns. So the next relationship, you can work on a different pattern, or maybe that's the one that you stay with and you work on for the rest of your life. But if you don't look inward, if you choose not to do anything about what's being reflected back to you, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sweetie, but it is going to follow you forever. And that's why we don't like to say, they're toxic. I'm done with them. Because sometimes I love you, but you're the problem and you're the solution. You're going to take it to the next one.
That is so true. And I think, yeah, it's like circles back to how the romantic relationship is the reflection of the standards you're setting
Hmm.
for yourself, the value you give yourself. And if you're not increasing that value or if you're not leveling up those standards, there will just be a forever pattern. And the same type of persons will just come back to you,
Oh,
like
God.
in a different shape and form, but they will be
Yes.
the same.
Yes. And we do want to say too, once you find that relationship, or even if you're in a stepping stone relationship, the one thing that's always going to up level it and you and your partner is appreciation. Because no matter how good it is, if you're not being appreciative, no one's gonna know how good it is. They're not gonna feel the love in return.
That is so true. The other day I heard this quote that is saying, gratitude that's not expressed doesn't exist.
Oh,
So
yes.
make sure that you appreciate people out loud. Say it to them, say it to people around you. Like, it's so easy to forget to appreciate the people we have close to
Mhm.
us. But it might be like one of the most important things because it's also I remember you've said this in one of the episodes, Nicole, like what you appreciate appreciates, meaning
Yep.
that if you appreciate people around you, they will also appreciate you.
That is so true, and with our partners, I feel it's the easiest place to just be at status quo appreciation where they do something nice, you say thank you. Or they do something, you're like, "Oh, thank you." But it's like lip service, and they say this in the church all the time, it's lip service, it's not real worship, and it's kind of the same way
Mm.
in our relationships. I think we can give lip service gratitude to our partners and not really embody it and show them every day that we're grateful for them and, like, not live in the status quo, but, like, skyrocket that gratitude so they feel like, "Oh my god, like, I'm a gift to this person's life." And, like, why not make your partner feel like a gift to your life, right? That's how they should that's what they
Exactly.
are there for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Make them feel like a gift.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's like Nicole is saying, it's easy to kind of stay in the status quo gratitude for your partner, but then also it's not that much more that is necessary either. Like instead of just being like, "Oh, thanks, babe," just stop, look them in the eye, maybe take their hand and be like, "Babe, thank you so much. I really appreciate it." And that's it.
Oh, that's so true. Yes, and maybe give them a kiss as well. A nice,
Yeah.
sweet kiss.
Nice touch.
I think someone said that if when someone comes home, if you give them like a 6-second kiss right away, like those relationships last longer. Do not quote me. I don't know where I heard this. I think it was on Instagram. But maybe they do something really sweet. Give them a 6-second kiss. Look them in
Yeah.
the eye. Say thank you, my love.
Mhm.
And I do that too. Maybe say exactly why you're so appreciative of that action. Thank you. If you
That's
hadn't made
true.
me lunch today, I probably wouldn't have eaten, and I really appreciate that. That was so sweet of you. Is that hard?
Yeah,
No.
I love that.
And our number one action is if you really love someone, take them to a sushi buffet. It will make them very happy.
Yes.
Our number one
Literally, it's the
advice.
solution. Take
If
them to a
you're having a
sushi
bad
buffet.
day, you just need to go to a sushi buffet with your partner, and y'all are gonna walk out of there full and happy. No more arguments.
Yeah, you can thank us later.
Yeah, so true. But these are me and
Yeah.
Nita's thoughts on relationships. Take them or leave them.
Yeah,
We hope
exactly. We could go on and on about
yeah, we
this
could.
topic. It's probably gonna come back to another episode later. But we need to shut up now.
Yes. Yeah, we need to wrap this puppy up. So we love that you've been here today listening. We really appreciate it. We really, really do. And if you want to see a little bit more Bitch Be Grateful, follow us on Instagram at bitch.begrateful. Subscribe to this video if you want to see more. We appreciate it.
And again, we want to say thank you so much for being here today and listening. Till next time, be grateful, bitch.
Bye.
Bye.